I love it when I'm able to create something that causes people to think and think about something they've never thought about before, or maybe think about something they have thought about in a different way. A lot of my work tends to deal with things that are about science or outer space or things like that. And it's beautiful when there's a moment when you realize the amount of stars and galaxies that there are, far away. It sort of puts in perspective where you are at this moment in time. And so I love giving people little insight into the big questions of life. Long time ago, there wasn't something called science, but there were people doing things that were sort of scientific that we would call today. But they were curious people. Leonardo da Vinci, he was always asking questions about the world that we live in and how can he make it better, more interesting, and solve problems. And I think artists and scientists both have that inside of them, where they're always asking questions, they're always curious, and they're trying to figure something out. And they do it in a little bit different way, but they both experiment, and they both look at their experiments and go, is this more true? Is this better? And then I need to keep working on it to get truer or more better. In general, I think of myself as a creative problem solver. I went to an art school, but I studied graphic design. And data visualization is something that I've always found as an interesting area because it allows you to see connections between complicated information that maybe you wouldn't have seen before. Today, a lot of information is collected. You go to the grocery store, and every time that you scan, your apple and your milk, someone knows that now, and they're tracking it, and they're figuring out, where does that apple go? How many apples do you eat a day? Should we sell more apples? And I find that fascinating, just that there's all this information, and how can we relate to it better in different ways. And so I talk about trying to experience data, so it's not just about looking at a spreadsheet, but actually trying to experience it. And one example is in San Jose, California. We have a piece that I worked with Aaron Koblin and Nick Hoffermoss that we call the E-Cloud. And the E-Cloud is a whole bunch of pieces of liquid crystal. And liquid crystal, if you have no electricity, it's opaque, so I couldn't see you through it. But if I add electricity, it becomes transparent, so I can see through it. And we hung thousands of pieces, they're about this big, in this thing that looks like a cloud. And we get weather data from around the world, and every 20 seconds the patterns change based upon the weather in that particular city. I've really enjoyed being able to work on that and sort of express weather in a different way than just looking at a screen saying there's, it's cloudy. This one actually feels like it's cloudy. I'm working on something right now with my friend, David Delgado, that we call the Museum of Awe. And the idea of awe meaning like if you've ever been to a really dark place with a dark sky and you look up and you see the Milky Way galaxy for the first time and you see all those stars and you can't believe just how immense the universe is. Or if you've had a child and you're like, I can't believe this child, came to be, there's a sense of awe in that. And so we're trying to create experiences that give you that sense. And it's a mixture of more installation art, a mixture of science, but it's also a mixture of theater. So the idea is that instead of being in a theater where you're, in the audience and there's a theater up on stage, it's more like you are up on stage and the theater is happening all around you. So as you walk through spaces, there will be actors and musicians interacting with you. That's just an experience that you don't get if you're at a normal museum or anywhere else for that matter. So I'm excited to work with actors and musicians on something like that, and dancers as well. It used to be maybe 60 years ago, you could buy something, you could pull it apart, you could you could figure out how it worked and put it back together. And then we would buy all these electronics and you have no idea how any of it works. You can't make it do what you want it to do. And so it was sort of like it wasn't part of me anymore. And so there's this huge outgrowth of people now that are learning how to take things apart, reprogram them, connect them to other things so they become their own things. And I think that's really beautiful because it allows everyone is creative. Everyone has a creative spirit within them. They express themselves in different ways. And this is allowing people to pursue their creative passions. And I encourage, anyone who enjoys taking things apart to get involved with these maker spaces and learn how to take things apart and put them together in your own way. Then they become your thing, and you may end up figuring out how to do something that no one else in the world knows how to do. And that's exciting because you're bringing something new into the world.